Because if you were in like an island by yourself, it might be really easy. You wouldn't have anyone to fight with, but you're not going to learn anything. We learn and we practice in relationship. When you have a team and you have a team member and they're up against their edge, whatever it is, and you're able to coach them to help them through and figure out what are those stories that they have in their head that are preventing them from being the best at their job. Now you just help them grow as a person. And that is extremely rewarding. A lot of times your job as a leader is to coach. Embodied CEOs don't chase trends. They pave the way. They lead from within, moved by purpose, unshaken by noise. When you are the source, you do not need permission. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I'm excited for this episode. I haven't done one in a while on leadership and team, but I recently got some questions about that. And then those questions from the group led to a bunch more questions about it. And I realized how people love to see and hear kind of the behind the scenes of how people manage teams. You know, team management and leadership has been a big focus of mine. It is one of my number one focuses this year. I think I shared that at the beginning of the year, like content, which I'm a little behind on because we kind of had some explosive growth, good growth in the company and that got pushed back. But content and team are my two biggest priorities for 2026. And leadership in general is something I'm really passionate about. And I mean, I'm young, so I've had to learn a lot of hard lessons when it comes to leadership and how to be a good leader. I think I'm naturally a leader, but how to do that from a very empathetic and understanding how different people work and being patient place has been a journey. And I have a lot of mentorship and support. I have people even today that I call. And the other day I had this, where I had a friend who has a really good friend. He has like a military background, strong leader. He is a leader in his company. And I called him and was like, listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to vent for a second. And then I want you to give it to me straight. And I'm so grateful for friends who do that. Like, don't tell me what I want to hear. Let me vent and then set me straight. So anyways, with leadership and team, it's probably one of the most challenging parts of growing a business that you're not running yourself. Managing people is very challenging because everyone has their own things, right? Like everyone has their own triggers, their own weaknesses, their things that they can't see, or and then you too, like your triggers and things like how you work. And managing people, it is definitely a journey, but I also think you can learn so much from it because we learn in relationship. And so when I have moments, especially with my leaders, when I have moments where we're like, I find us both kind of like in a tension spot, I'm like, great, because we can learn from this. Like, it's easy to be totally good when there's no tension, there's no pressure, there's no stress. But when one or both find themselves in a point where we're triggered and butting heads, which happens, like, I think that's just like with any relationship, right? I'm like, okay, awesome. Like, this is an opportunity for us to like pause, have a conversation, share both of our perspectives, hear each other, and figure out what we need to do moving forward. So I also think, as hard as relationships are in general, right? Like, I think they're one of the most challenging because you can't control the other person, right? So when you think about friendships, when you think about partnerships, when you think about, business partnerships, marriage, employee relationships, it's probably the most challenging thing we navigate. I also think it's where we learn the most, because if you were in like an island by yourself, it might be really easy. You wouldn't have anyone to fight with, but you're not going to learn anything. We learn and we practice in relationship. We practice our own triggers and our own work and our own shadows in relationships. So there's so much opportunity, but it doesn't make it easy. Anyways, so I got asked all these questions about leadership, and I thought I would give you kind of 3 things, simple things that I do in managing my team that help me manage. I've got a team of 20 right now, and I'm pretty much 100% removed from our day-to-day. but I still have a very good grasp on what is happening in the company, and I can jump in at any time to a client situation, weigh in on strategy, but the actual operations of the company, I've been removed for a long time, but like fully removed for a long time. And it's the best ever because the company actually, like if something happens and I'm sick one day, the company actually runs. But there are things that I have put into place that allow me to have the perspective I need on the company, the view I need on the company in a very organized way. So these are really simple, but I wanted to share them because the group that I shared them with got a lot of value from this. So the first one is I have always and have over time built systems for this, made sure that data and information is given to me in a systematized way. I learned that I don't want to have to ask for updates. So I don't want to say, oh, 3 days ago I thought of this thing and how is it doing? How's this performing? How is this client doing? Are they getting results? Or how is our webinar doing? Or what's our sales data look like? I don't want to have to go either find it or even ask for it. Like I want it available to me when I need to look at it. And then I also want important things pushed to me to see. So what this looks like, and it shifts and changes based on what we are doing in our company, but for my company, what this looks like is every client has a Slack channel, and at least 2 times a week, actual data updates are put in that Slack channel in terms of ad spend, sales, profitability, notes around what we're doing. So I never have to, and my director never has to go searching for an update on a client. It's pushed to us so that if we see a red flag or we see something that needs attention, we can go and address it proactively. That's really a big part of this, is like how to have a team managing the day-to-day, but keep you in a proactive versus reactive place. So that's on the client and the delivery side. On my marketing side, this is what we do for clients in terms of our reporting, but I have it done on my end too. I will get updates, and it varies the cadence based on what we have going on, but I'll get updates on things like if we've got a webinar funnel, how many leads, how are the emails doing, what's the cost per lead, what are we doing, and then on our sales side, how many calls, how many showed up. And this is getting pushed to me both in spreadsheets, but also I like it in simple Slack messages, because then I don't even have to open a spreadsheet. It just gets sent to me the high level so that I can go, oh, hey, let's spend more budget. That's crushing it. We're getting such a good cost per lead, which this just happened. Like we're getting such a good cost per lead. We have 4 more days left. Let's push the budget. If that wasn't being pushed to me, my team's just going to operate based on the budget I gave them. And we decided for, a campaign for a promotion. If we have, in sales, hey, we're getting no-shows. Okay, what are we doing about that? Let's make sure we have actions. So depending on what's happening, like when we're running a live launch, I get more updates and I tell my team, I want it once a week, or I want in live launches, I usually want more. And on the delivery side, so any of the main areas of the business, for us, it's delivery, it's marketing, and it's sales. We have a system, both in solid spreadsheets, but then also in Slack messages that are being sent to management and to leadership so that we can proactively see things before it becomes an issue. And sometimes, the team who's in the day-to-day doesn't always see things. Like a leadership team is going to have a different perspective because they're not so close to it. And you really want both when you are managing those things. So that's the first thing I have done for the longest time, is like data is so important, because data should always be driving actions, and data in your company should be driving your actions. Like you have data when it comes to marketing, you have data when it comes to sales, you have data when it comes to your delivery and your retention and how that's going in your operations. And all of that data should be driving where the actions are. Where's the gaps, where's the holes, where's the opportunities that we can put actions behind. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I meet with my direct reports once a week, and then they meet with theirs. I only have 2 direct reports right now. I try to keep it as minimal as possible. And also, just so you know, I hate meetings. Like, let me tell you, I hate meetings, but these are important meetings. And I have also learned this the hard way, Because if you, especially a remote team, if you don't have any face-to-face with your team, and especially if they're full-time, it's really hard to maintain that relationship. Like, could you imagine having like a friendship or, your partner, and all you do is like Slack and send messages to each other? Like, you've got to have that face-to-face interaction. So I meet with my direct reports once a week. They meet with their direct reports once a week. So everybody's getting that face-to-face. And the expectation in these meetings, and this is what I explained to the group, is I don't run the meetings. When my direct reports come to me, they are running the meetings with what they need from me. And that is the expectation, is that they show up with an organized list of all the things they want to talk through or the updates they want to give me. And if I have things, great. And sometimes I do have questions I want to check up on or something I want to talk through with them. But most of the time, the meeting is for them to come and get FaceTime with me to be able to work through, a situation, work through a problem, work through, like, I spend a lot of time with my director on the ads team talking through hiring, talking through how we're going to like structure things as we grow, what positions we need, how we can leverage the team we have. We talk about process and clients. And then on the marketing side, we brainstorm and we talk about our upcoming promotions, how we want to fit our calendar. And then they're taking that and they're going and executing, but they get that FaceTime with me. And also the third thing that I'm going to tie into this, because this was the third thing I had, but it's a lesson that I learned, again, the hard way. As I was talking to this group, I was like, let me tell you, like, I have learned a lot of leadership lessons the hard way because I didn't know what I was doing. And it's one thing to like be a leader and take charge. It's another thing to actually like inspire and motivate and bring together a team. And doing that remote is even harder. So the next thing is, like, I have realized, and I continue to remind myself of this, a lot of times your job as a leader is to coach the person that you're leading, is to help them through the moments that they have of overwhelm, of frustration, of self-doubt, of, failure, and figure out what are those stories that they have in their head that are preventing them from being the best. In my case, they're leaders, but being the best, at their job. And that is such an important job. So I go into my meetings trying to pull this out of my team of like, where are you struggling? How are you looking at this? How could I provide you perspective? How could I ask you the right questions? How could I support you in that way? And so I say this because this is the third thing on my list, is like, as a leader, you are also a coach. And it's very rewarding because you also get to have this impact on the actual human being behind the job. But it's easy to fall into a place where all you're focused on is the tasks and the logistical to-dos and the things that they're working on. And you forget about the human behind the job. And, for me, I'll share with you guys, like, because I think a lot of you guys will relate to this. One thing I've had to learn, and I'm still learning, is I do not need to be motivated. I'm very self-motivated. And I also thrive almost in like the grind. You see this in how I work out. Like, I love going into a workout that sounds terrible and I don't want to do it, and then doing it anyways. But not everybody is built that way. And it's easy for me to focus on the things we need to improve, the things that aren't going well, and just kind of like the push through mentality, because that's how I operate. And my friend pointed out this recently. It was a situation where he's like, you're not motivating, you're not leading, you're just managing. Like, you need to be a leader here and get the team excited for something that might feel overwhelming, and not be like, come on guys, like, let's push through and do this. So for me, I've had to, and I still have to catch myself so many times where my go-to is like for me, I could just focus on the problems all day and fixing the problems because I love to do that. Like, let's get better. Let's fix the problems. Let's focus on what's not working. But most people, that's not the way that they feel excited. They want to also feel good about the good things and like that momentum and that excitement. And so I have to intentionally do that because it doesn't come natural to me. It doesn't come natural to me to pause, and it doesn't take even a long time, but to pause and be like, we got this. Like, I know this is a lot right now, but here's where we're going. And like that motivating, like, and that is a piece of leadership. And so that's something like I think you have to know as you manage a team, you have to know what is your weakness in how you manage. And for me, that's my weakness. My weakness is that I don't want to say I'm motivated by pain. I don't think that is necessarily true, but I love solving problems. I love doing an impossible thing. I love being faced with a problem that's like, this is almost impossible to do or solve, and then still doing it. And there's like a high on the other side of that. And so that's my weakness, is that I can get too wrapped up in that and think that that's like exciting to other people, and it's not. And so I know that's my weakness. And so I continually make an effort to balance that out. And so I think everyone has kind of what their weakness is, because again, we all have our things. We all have our triggers. We all have our shadow side of us that shows up in relationship. And so the more you can become aware of that, then the more you can improve as a leader. And back to kind of my third point that I was talking about, you will be very surprised when you start managing a team, if you haven't yet, how much your job is that coaching. Because anyone that you are their leader, like, they look up to you. They are looking for that advice. They're looking for that stability in the moments of overwhelm, of like that you've got it, that they're supported, that they're understood, that they are heard. The more I experience relationships, the more I realize that it's simple. People just want to be seen. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be recognized. And for a lot of us, that doesn't come natural to do that for other people, or necessarily be something, not even come natural. Like, it's not like it's hard for me to do that. I don't think about it enough. So that role of that coach, like, it is not just about the logistical, tactical components. Like, actually, it is probably less than half about that when you are leading a team. And it is so much more about supporting and coaching, and especially through the harder moments. Like, when you have a team and you have a team member and you're able to move through something where they're up against their edge, like they're uncomfortable because they're doing something new. They are pushing, their comfort on their confidence, on having a voice, whatever it is. And you're able to coach them through that. Now you just help them grow as a person. And that is extremely rewarding. Also a huge part of it. So the way that you do that is you have to have face-to-face, interactions, and pull out like how you can support them, what they're struggling with. So those are some ways that I manage my team. Team is a huge focus for me. I'm working on trying to hire some in-person talent in Austin, because I really want to have the environment of an in-person team. Not 100% of us in person. We just have such a great team who's not in person. But I really want to be able to have a team that's like, let's go out to dinner. Let's go play Top Golf one day. Let's like actually have these relationships that you just can't have when you are virtual, and just the connection. So we're hiring some roles in Austin, and the next podcast studio is going to be big enough to have a few people working there, and that is super exciting. Culture and team is an ever-evolving process. All right, everybody. Hopefully you got something out of this, even if you have like a contractor or one team member right now. I mean, having data reported to you, having cadences where they're bringing updates to you, that is such a huge part of it. Definitely when you have a team, and as you grow a team, you want to get to the point where you're outsourcing decisions and thinking. And so that's a big thing for me through these processes, is like I have to offload the decisions and the thinking and the like, I got to check in on this, I got to do that, because I only have so much bandwidth for that. And so my team does such a great job, and that's what we train them on, thinking that way, of like bringing the solutions, bringing the ideas, don't just bring the problems, because myself and my leaders, we only have so much bandwidth, and you have to be able to outsource that to a team. All right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in today, and I will talk to you next week.